Chapter 1, The Test. Smack. Are you blind? Or just stupid? The venomous hiss echoed down the stark, high-contrast lighting of the 45th floor executive corridor. Tae-jin stumbled backward, his worn, faded blue canvas uniform scraping against the pristine marble. He dropped to his knees, his hand instinctively flying to his rapidly reddening cheek. He kept his head bowed, his shoulders hunched in the universal posture of the defeated, looking utterly and hopelessly helpless. Standing over him was Jie, draped in an immaculate, razor-sharp crimson suit. She practically vibrated with rage as she pointed a manicured finger at his face, then down to a microscopic, invisible drop of mop water near her Italian leather heel. "Do you have any idea what you have just done?" Jie sneered, her voice dripping with disgust. "This leather is worth more than your life insurance payout. Get out of my sight before I have you arrested for property damage." The heavy oak doors of the CEO's office swung open. Out stepped Min-ho, the terrifyingly composed CEO of the company. His bespoke navy suit caught the light as he surveyed the scene with chilling, professional detachment. "Is there a problem out here, Jie?" Min-ho asked, his voice smooth and devoid of any warmth. Jie immediately shifted her posture, softening her features into a mask of distressed elegance. "Mr. Kong, I apologize for the noise. The cleaning staff here is just shockingly incompetent. He practically assaulted my shoes." Min-ho didn't blink. He didn't defend the janitor kneeling on the floor. Instead, he looked down at Tae-jin with a gaze so icy it could freeze water. "Clean up this mess immediately," Min-ho ordered, his tone clipping with absolute authority. "If you ever disrupt one of my executive candidates again, I will have security escort you out of the building. Am I clear?" Tae-jin nodded frantically, his eyes locked on the baseboards. "Yes, sir. I'm so sorry, sir. It won't happen again." Just smirked, victorious, and practically strutted down the hallway toward the glass-walled boardroom. Min-ho turned on his heel and walked back into his office, leaving the door open just a fraction. An agonizing minute later, the janitor grabbed his mop bucket, slipped inside the office, and locked the heavy door behind him. The instant the lock clicked, the temperature in the room completely changed. Min-ho, the terrifying CEO, practically threw his tablet onto his mahogany desk and rushed forward, his professional facade shattering into pure, panicked horror. "Tae-jin, I am so sorry," Min-ho gasped, hovering his hands near his friend's face without actually touching the red mark. "Are you okay? Tell me the word. Just say the word and I will fire her right now. I'll blacklist her from every firm in the city. I can't keep speaking to you like that out there, man. It's killing me." Tae-jin slowly lowered his hand. The red handprint was stark against his jaw. He looked completely exhausted, the physical toll of scrubbing floors bleeding into a deeper, heavier emotional drain. "No," Tae-jin muttered, walking over to the leather sofa and collapsing into it, staring blankly at the ceiling. "We made an agreement. The test continues. Let her stay." Welcome back to the channel to all my amazing returning viewers, and a huge, warm welcome to our new ones. We are diving right into a new drama today. Can you believe how Jie just treated him? What would you have done if you were Tae-jin in this situation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Out in the break room, the wheels of sabotage were already turning. Seo-yun possessed a face like an angelic porcelain doll and a mind like a rusted bear trap. She was currently making a cup of green tea, standing shoulder to shoulder with the still fuming Jie. "I can't believe the help in this building," Jie muttered, checking her makeup in the reflection of the microwave. "If I win this placement, I'm firing the entire maintenance staff on day one." "You are so brave for standing up to him," Seo-yun cooed softly, her wide eyes unblinking. "Mr. Kong must love that you have such high standards. You know, I heard he really values a woman who can spot a liability to the company." Jie paused, turning her head. "A liability? Emichum?" So-yun whispered, leaning in conspiratorially. "I shouldn't say anything, but I saw Brenda, the office manager, loading boxes of premium printer toner and espresso pods into the trunk of her car yesterday. She's embezzling from the company. Imagine how impressed Mr. Kong would be if someone had the intellect to expose a thief right in the middle of the strategy meeting. His eyes lit up with predatory glee. She didn't bother to verify the information. She smelled blood. What GA did not know was that Brenda, the office manager, was a terrifyingly efficient, strictly professional 55-year-old woman with a color-coded filing system that rivaled the Pentagon. Brenda guarded the company assets flawlessly. The afternoon strategy meeting took place in the main glass-walled boardroom. Min-ho sat at the head of the long table. Brenda, wearing a sensible beige blazer, quietly and efficiently distributed plain, unmarked manila folders to each candidate. GA saw her moment. She stood up, planted both hands on the mahogany table, and pointed her manicured finger directly at Brenda. "Mr. Kong, stop the meeting," Jay announced, her voice booming with dramatic flair. "I cannot sit here while this company is being robbed blind." The entire room froze. Min-ho dropped his pen. "I know what you are doing, Brenda," Jay sneered. "I know you've been funneling company assets into your personal vehicle. The printer toner, the espresso pods. Mr. Kong, this woman is an embezzler. And I am not the type to keep quiet when things are not going as it should." For 3 agonizing seconds, there was dead silence. Then Brenda slowly turned around. She didn't lose her temper. She simply looked at Min-ho with absolute, stone-cold professionalism. "Mr. Kong," Brenda said, her voice a calm, even monotone that chilled the room. "Do I have your permission to address this candidate's baseless accusation? Or would you prefer I contact our legal department immediately to file a corporate defamation suit?" Min-ho swallowed hard, slightly intimidated by his own office manager. "You may address it, Brenda." Brenda calmly opened her plain leather binder. She didn't raise her voice by a single decibel. "Tab 4, Section C," Brenda stated, sliding a flawlessly printed spreadsheet across the mahogany table toward GA. "Log of expired espresso pods, authorized for disposal by corporate HR on Tuesday. Tab 6, Section A. The printer toner return policy. The supplier sent the wrong cartridges, so I drove them to the drop-off myself on my lunch break, saving this company $32 in courier fees." Gaya's confident smirk vanished. Her face was drained of color. I was told. This is a place of business, not a gossip ring," Brenda interrupted, adjusting her glasses. She looked back at Min-ho. "Sir, having a candidate openly slander management without verifying basic logistics is a massive legal liability. I recommend immediate termination." Min-ho didn't hesitate. Maintaining his cold CEO persona, he looked at GA. "Brenda is correct. You are a liability. You are dismissed from this program, GA. Security will escort you out." GA burst into tears, entirely humiliated by Brenda's calm, crushing competence, and was escorted out of the glass boardroom. 1 down, 8 to go. With the boardroom cleared, Min-ho retreated to his office, rubbing his temples, feeling a massive headache coming on. The door clicked shut behind him, but he wasn't alone. Seo-yun stepped out from the shadows of his private bookshelf. She had unbuttoned the top 2 buttons of her silk blouse and let her hair down. "Mr. Kong," Seo-yun whispered, her voice dropping into a husky purr. "That was so stressful for you. You must be so exhausted." Min-ho backed up against his desk, panic seizing his chest. "Oh no." Seo-yun slowly walked toward him, her hips swaying. "I just wanted you to know. I know how to be discreet. I know how to take care of a powerful man behind closed doors." She reached out, her fingers brushing against his lapel. Min-ho was sweating bullets. If he rejected her too aggressively, she might suspect the test. Suddenly, the heavy oak doors opened. "Mr. Kong, I need you to sign the authorization form for the—" Brenda froze in the doorway. Her eyes darted from Min-ho, bent backward over his desk, to Seo-yun, hovering over him with her blouse unbuttoned. A horrifying, dead silence stretched between the 3 of them. Brenda didn't yell. She didn't slam the door. She merely pulled out a pen, clicked it once, and looked at Min-ho with a gaze of utter, professional disappointment. "I apologize for the interruption," Sir, Brenda said, her tone dripping with polite ice. I will return when you are finished with your personal business. Please ensure Human Resources is notified of this relationship for the company records. Seo-yun gasped, violently shoving herself away from Min-ho and frantically buttoning her blouse. Her face burned scarlet as she sprinted past Brenda and out the door, entirely mortified. Min-ho slowly stood up, fixing his tie, his face pale. Brenda, I can explain. Brenda calmly set the form on the edge of his desk. Just sign the document, Mr. Kong, and please lock your door in the future. The cleaning staff has enough messes to mop up. Brenda is the undisputed MVP of this office. Do you think Seo-yun is going to get away with this sneaky seduction attempt? Or will it backfire on her too? Tell me your theories. And don't forget to like and subscribe to help us reach our 3,000 subscriber milestone for the ultimate season finale. Chapter 2. The bottom of their character. The morning light filtering through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the 45th floor was harsh, casting long, high-contrast shadows across the pristine marble. Tae-jin's muscles burned. He was on his hands and knees, scrubbing a stubborn scuff mark near the executive elevators. His faded blue canvas uniform felt heavy with sweat. He was supposed to be running a multinational empire, not nursing a bruised jaw and aching joints, but he was committed to the illusion. He wanted to prove to his grandma that all women are the same, and he needed to know exactly how far these women would go. The heavy silver doors of the private elevator chimed. Candidate number 4, Soo-jin, stepped out. She was the heiress to a shipping conglomerate, draped in head-to-toe couture, with a designer handbag resting in the crook of her arm. She was aggressively barking orders into her cell phone. As the elevator doors began to slide shut behind her, Soo-jin suddenly realized she had left her secondary silk scarf on the elevator railing. Hold that, Soo-jin snapped, not even looking down at Tae-jin. Tae-jin scrambled to his feet, lunging forward to press his hands against the heavy steel doors to keep them from closing. The motors whined in protest, pushing heavily against his palms. Soo-jin casually strolled back into the elevator, picked up her scarf, and walked out. But instead of letting him release the door, she stopped right in the threshold, still talking on her phone. No, tell the broker I want the shares liquidated by noon. Soo-jin ordered her phone, casually leaning her weight against the open elevator frame. Tae-jin's arms were shaking. The industrial elevator doors were incredibly heavy, and the safety sensors were blaring a low, urgent warning beep. Excuse me, miss, Tae-jin rasped, his voice trembling as he played the helpless worker. The doors are on a timer. I can't hold them much longer. Soo-jin finally looked at him, her eyes sweeping over his cheap uniform with utter disdain. Then use your back. I am on an important call, and the reception in the hallway is terrible. Block it. Tae-jin stared at her. He could buy her family's entire shipping fleet in cash, but here he was, being treated like a piece of furniture. Slowly, obediently, he turned around and wedged his shoulders between the aggressively buzzing steel doors, letting the heavy metal crush against his spine. He clamped his eyes shut, enduring the physical pain and the sheer humiliation. Down the corridor, the heavy oak doors of the CEO's office clicked open. Min-ho stepped out carrying a stack of files. He stopped dead in his tracks, watching his billionaire best friend being used as a human doorstop by a woman casually discussing stock options. Min-ho's jaw tightened so hard his teeth squeaked. He wanted to scream. He wanted to call security and have Soo-jin thrown out of a window. But he saw Tae-jin silently shake his head just a fraction of an inch. Min-ho swallowed his rage and slipped on his terrifying, cold CEO persona. He marched down the hall. Is there a maintenance issue with this elevator? Min-ho asked, his voice sharp and authoritative. Soo-jin immediately ended her call, her haughty demeanor vanishing into a sweet, professional smile. Mr. Kong. No, the janitor was just inspecting the sensor. He was being quite slow about it. Min-ho looked at Tae-jin, who was still wedged between the crushing doors, sweating profusely. Min-ho felt sick to his stomach. Get back to your duties immediately, Min-ho barked at Tae-jin, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. Stop loitering in the executive pathways. Clean the air vents in the boardroom. Yes, sir. Right away, sir, Tae-jin gasped, finally stepping out from the doors. They slammed shut behind him with a heavy, metallic thud. He bowed deeply to Min-ho, practically folding himself in half, before grabbing his mop bucket and limping away. Welcome back to the drama. To all my amazing returning viewers, and a massive warm welcome to our new ones. It is getting so intense. Can you actually believe Soo-jin used him as a human doorstop? What would you have done if you saw someone treating a worker like that? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to read them all. Inside the boardroom, the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Candidate number 5, Ha-eun, was practically hyperventilating. She was notoriously paranoid, convinced that everyone in the building was out to steal her ideas. Today was the quarterly projection pitch, and she had spent 3 sleepless nights crafting the perfect, hyper-detailed PowerPoint presentation to impress Min-ho. She carefully set her silver USB drive on the mahogany table right next to her laptop, then excused herself to rush to the restroom to splash cold water on her face. The moment the boardroom door clicked shut, candidate number 6, Eugene, slid out from her seat at the other end of the long table. Eugene was a ruthless perfectionist who believed the easiest way to look like a genius was to make everyone else look like an absolute idiot. With terrifying speed and silence, Eugene walked over to Ha-eun's laptop. She pocketed the silver USB drive. From her own blazer, she produced an identical silver drive and placed it in the exact same spot on the table. Then, she glided back to her seat, opened her notebook, and smiled. In the corner of the room, standing on a small stepladder, Tae-jin was unscrewing the heavy grate of the ceiling air vent. He paused, his screwdriver hovering in the air. He had a perfect, elevated view of the entire room. He saw the swap happen clear as day. Tae-jin looked down at Eugene. She didn't even notice him. To her, the man on the ladder was entirely invisible. Tae-jin let out a silent, exhausted sigh and went back to unscrewing the vent. He couldn't warn Ha-eun. He couldn't intervene. He just had to watch the wolves tear each other apart. 10 minutes later, the boardroom was full. Min-ho sat at the head of the table, looking incredibly severe. Standing quietly in the corner was Brenda, the office manager, her hands folded neatly over a fresh, perfectly organized clipboard. Let's proceed, Min-ho said coldly. Ha-eun, you are up. Ha-eun practically leaped out of her chair. She smoothed down her skirt, radiating nervous energy. Thank you, Mr. Kong. Today, I am going to show you a revolutionary restructuring of our Q3 asset logistics. She confidently picked up the silver USB drive, slotted it into her laptop, and clicked the presentation onto the massive 4K screen behind her. As you can see by this initial graph, Ha-eun turned around and pointed her laser pointer at the screen. She froze. The screen was not displaying a graph. It was displaying a massive, highly pixelated, looping GIF of a dancing banana. The boardroom was dead silent. What? Ha-eun gasped, her face turning chalk white. Her hands trembled violently as she clicked the mouse to the next slide. The next slide was an autoplaying, incredibly loud video of a man aggressively cutting bars of brightly colored soap with a kitchen knife, accompanied by deafening ASMR crunching noises that blasted through the boardroom's state-of-the-art surround sound speakers. Crunch, scrape, crunch. Min-ho stared at the screen, utterly baffled. Eugene pressed her hand over her mouth, faking a gasp of shock while her eyes danced with vicious amusement. Turn that off, Min-ho commanded, rubbing his temples. I don't. This isn't my file. Ha-eun shrieked in absolute panic. She was frantically slamming her hands on her keyboard, but the presentation was locked in full-screen mode. The soap-cutting noises grew louder. Crunch, crunch. Mr. Kong, I swear on my life this is not my presentation. Ha-eun was crying now, spinning around the room, her paranoia fully taking over. Her wild eyes landed on Tae-jin, who was quietly climbing down his stepladder in the corner. Him! Ha-eun screamed, pointing an accusing finger at the janitor. He did this. He was alone in the room before the meeting. The help sabotaged my computer. Tae-jin froze, gripping his ladder. He immediately bowed his head, playing the terrified worker. Miss, I don't even know what a USB drive is. I was just cleaning the dust from the vents. Liar! Haun shrieked, advancing on him. Mr. Kong, he ruined my pitch. Fire him. Call the police. Sit down, Haun. A calm, terrifyingly level voice echoed through the room. Brenda stepped forward from the corner. She calmly walked over to Haun's laptop. With 2 swift keystrokes, she killed the presentation. The loud crunching noises finally stopped. Brenda didn't yell. She typed a few commands into the system terminal, her eyes scanning the data with lethal efficiency. File metadata indicates this document was last modified on an external network 3 days ago, Brenda stated, her voice echoing in the silent room. Furthermore, the security logs show the janitorial staff badge did not swipe into this room until 10:14 a.m. The swap or corruption occurred prior to this meeting. Do not blame the maintenance staff for your failure to secure your own data. Candidate. Haun stared at Brenda, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. But someone swapped it. Someone in this room. Min-ho stood up. He had seen enough. The sheer incompetence and the immediate attempt to frame a helpless worker disgusted him. Haun, Min-ho said, his voice dropping to a terrifying register. If you lack the basic intellect to secure a simple flash drive, how can you expect me to trust you with the assets of a billion-dollar company? This program requires flawless execution. You have failed. Mr. Kong, please, Haun begged, tears ruining her expensive makeup. You are dismissed, Min-ho said, refusing to look at her. Brenda, call security to escort her out. Haun sobbed openly as she grabbed her ruined laptop and fled the boardroom. Her dreams of marrying the richest CEO entirely shattered. Eugene quietly smoothed her skirt, her face a mask of serene professionalism, hiding her absolute victory. 2 down, 7 to go. Eugene is absolutely ruthless. Who do you think she is going to target next? Let me know your predictions down in the comments. And guys, hit that like and subscribe button right now. We are pushing hard for our 3,000 subscriber milestone. And once we hit it, we will prove to the algorithm that this channel is worth watching. An hour later, the 45th floor was quiet again. Min-ho retreated to his private office and locked the heavy oak door. He barely had time to loosen his tie before Tae-jin stepped out from the private side entrance, leaning heavily against the doorframe. Tae-jin looked terrible. The physical strain of being a human doorstop had bruised his back, and the dust from the vents clung to his damp forehead. Min-ho grabbed a bottle of expensive sparkling water from his mini-fridge and tossed it to him. I can't do this anymore, Min-ho confessed, pacing the room, his hands tearing at his perfectly styled hair. Tae-jin, I watched that woman crush you in the elevator. I watched Haun try to have you arrested over a soap-cutting video. They are completely, certifiably insane. Tae-jin cracked open the water, taking a long, slow drink. The cool liquid was a temporary relief to the burning exhaustion in his chest. He walked over to the massive window, looking out over the sprawling city skyline, a city he essentially owned. The test is working, Tae-jin said quietly. It's ugly, but it's working. I need to see the bottom of their character, Min-ho. I need to know exactly what kind of snakes are hiding in the grass. There's only 7 left, Min-ho sighed, dropping into his leather chair. At this rate, there's not going to be anyone left standing. Tae-jin looked down at his calloused, bruised hands. He thought about the cruelty he had endured today, the casual way they threw him away like garbage. His hope was fading fast, bleeding out with every passing hour. 7 left, Tae-jin whispered, staring into the middle distance. Keep the test going. Chapter 3, The Triple Purge. The high-contrast, fluorescent lights of the 45th floor executive break room buzzed with the low, electric hum of corporate warfare. There were 7 women left. The air was thick with paranoia. Min-ho had issued the ultimate stress test. The candidates had exactly 3 hours to transform the executive lounge for a surprise VIP investor walkthrough. They were given a tight budget and strict instructions to manage the physical setup, catering, and presentation themselves. It was a test of delegation and grace under fire. Naturally, they immediately turned on each other. Candidate number 8, Bo Young, was a woman who believed hard work was a disease that only affected the lower classes. The moment Min Ho announced the task, she dramatically clutched her pearl necklace and staggered backward against the marble counter. "Oh, my head," Bo Young gasped, fanning herself with a manicured hand. "I'm having a severe vertigo episode. The stress of this environment is simply too toxic." Tae-jin was quietly wiping down the break room sink, his muscles screaming from the previous day's elevator incident. He didn't look up, expertly playing his role as the invisible janitor. "You can't fake a migraine to get out of lifting chairs, Bo Young," snapped Eugene, the ruthless perfectionist from yesterday, as she aggressively unboxed catering trays. "It's not fake," Bo Young shrieked, her voice echoing shrilly. To prove her point, she dramatically swooned, collapsing sideways. Unfortunately for Tae-jin, he was directly in her path. Bo Young slammed into him, knocking him off balance. Tae-jin crashed hard to the tiled floor, his elbow slamming into the heavy mop bucket. Dirty, sudsy water cascaded over the tiles, soaking right through his faded blue uniform pants and splashing onto Bo Young's designer boots. Bo Young's vertigo miraculously vanished. She scrambled backward, her face contorted in absolute fury. "You clumsy, incompetent idiot!" she screamed, kicking the spilled mop bucket so it clattered against the wall. "Look what you did. I am a delicate woman having a medical emergency, and you practically drowned me in filth." Tae-jin lay on the wet floor for a second, staring at the fluorescent lights on the ceiling. His elbow throbbed. His clothes were soaked with dirty water. He was a billionaire, a man who commanded industries across 3 continents, and he was lying in a puddle while a woman faked an illness just to avoid carrying a folding chair. Slowly, helplessly, he scrambled to his hands and knees, grabbing his soaked towel. "I'm sorry, Mississippi. I'll clean it. I'll carry your boxes to the lounge for you. Please don't report me." Bo Young sneered, wiping her boot with a napkin. "You absolutely will carry my boxes. And if you scuff the paint in the lounge, I will personally see to it that you never work in this city again. Welcome back, my amazing drama-loving family, and a huge welcome to all the new viewers. Can you actually believe Bo Young just faked a medical emergency and blamed him? If you were the CEO, what would be her punishment? Let me know in the comments right now." While Tae-jin was hauling heavy boxes of porcelain dishware down the corridor, dripping wet and exhausted, candidate number 7, Nabai, was attempting a different kind of sabotage. Nabai was the flatterer. She believed she could sweet-talk her way out of any problem. She had completely forgotten to order the premium caviar requested for the VIP lounge, and her budget was entirely depleted. She spotted Brenda, the terrifying office manager, power walking down the hall with her trademark clipboard. "Brenda, Uni," Nabai called out, using the overly familiar, sweet Korean honorific for an older sister. She grabbed Brenda's arm, ignoring the way Brenda's eyes immediately narrowed into lethal slits. "You look so stunning today. Is that a new blazer?" Brenda looked at Nabai's hand on her arm. Then she looked at Nabai's face. "Remove your hand, candidate, before I remove it for you." Nabai laughed nervously, stepping back. "You're so funny. Listen, I'm in a teeny bit of a bind. I need to order 5 pounds of beluga caviar for the VIP lounge, but my corporate card is maxed. Since you run everything around here, could you just slip it onto the company expense account? For me? Mr. Kong won't mind." Brenda slowly adjusted her reading glasses. The temperature in the hallway seemed to drop 10 degrees. "Let me ensure I understand you," Brenda said, her voice a terrifying monotone. "You are asking me, the senior manager of corporate logistics, to commit accounting fraud to cover up your gross incompetence? No, I just..." Brenda unclipped a pen from her clipboard. Corporate Policy Manual, Section 12, Paragraph B. Any employee or candidate caught soliciting unauthorized funds will face immediate expulsion and a potential audit. I am not your Uni. I am your executioner. Step aside. Brenda marched straight toward the CEO's office, her heels clicking like a ticking time bomb. Nabai stood in the hallway, her mouth open in silent horror, realizing she had just dug her own grave. Inside the executive lounge, the chaos was reaching its peak. The room was only half set up. Tae-jin was on his knees, assembling a complex lighting fixture, while Eugene and Seo-yun barked contradictory orders at him. "Move the table to the left, you idiot," Seo-yun snapped, dropping her sweet-faced manipulator act now that the CEO wasn't around. "No, leave it," Eugene shouted. Sitting quietly in the corner of the lounge was Min-ji, candidate number 3. She was the silent observer. She hadn't lifted a single chair. She hadn't yelled at the janitor. She simply watched, her phone resting innocently on her lap. The doors to the lounge suddenly flew open. Min-ho stepped in, his face like thunder. Brenda stood right behind him, holding a freshly printed incident report. "Everyone, freeze," Min-ho ordered. The room fell dead silent. Tae-jin stayed on his knees behind a sofa, keeping his head down, exhaustion radiating from his bones. "This exercise is over," Min-ho said, his voice cold and echoing in the large room. "I have just received a report from Brenda that Nabai attempted to coerce the management staff into committing corporate fraud." Nabai burst into tears, covering her face. "Mr. Kong, I was just asking for a favor. You lack integrity. You are fired. Get out." Min-ho barked without an ounce of hesitation. Before Nabai could even run out of the room, Brenda cleared her throat. "Sir, I have also verified candidate Bo-young's vertigo claim with the medical clinic listed on her file. It is a forged document. She was actually at a day spa yesterday afternoon." Bo-young gasped, looking like a deer caught in headlights. "That's a lie. I am very sick." "You're a liability," Min-ho snapped, his patience completely gone. "You abused the maintenance staff and falsified medical records to avoid a simple catering task. You are fired. Security will escort you out." Bo-young and Nabai were practically dragged out of the lounge, sobbing and screaming at each other. The remaining women, Seo-yun, Eugene, Min-ji, Soo-jin, and Eun-woo, stood in stunned silence. The herd had just been brutally thinned. Min-ho sighed, rubbing his temples. "If anyone else has a secret to confess, do it now or so help me." "I have something, Mr. Kong." Min-ji, the silent observer, slowly stood up from the corner. She held her phone up, her face a mask of complete apathy. "Candidate Seo-yun is not who she pretends to be. She has been actively trying to manipulate you, sir." Seo-yun's angelic face was drained of all colors. "Min-ji, shut your mouth." Min-ji calmly pressed play on her phone. The audio echoed through the quiet lounge. It was a crystal-clear recording of Seo-yun in the break room from the day before, bragging to GA. "Mr. Kong is so easy," Seo-yun's voice sneered from the speaker. "He's practically shaking when I get close to him. I'm going to unbutton my blouse in his office today. These idiot girls are trying to win with spreadsheets. I'm going to win on my back, secure the ring, and then bleed his bank accounts dry." Min-ho's face turned scarlet, not from embarrassment, but from pure, unadulterated rage. Seo-yun fell to her knees, weeping beautifully. "Mr. Kong, it's not what it sounds like. It was a joke. I truly care for the billionaire, and I will be a good wife in the future if I win this competition." Min-ho looked at her with utter disgust. He knew Tae-jin was listening to every word from behind the sofa. This woman wasn't just plotting against the company. She was actively trying to trap his best friend in a loveless, parasitic marriage. "Get out of my building," Min-ho whispered, his voice shaking with anger. "If I ever see your face again, I will have my lawyers bury you so deep you won't see daylight. Get out." Seo-yun scrambled to her feet and fled, her mask of innocence entirely shattered. 3 eliminated in 10 minutes. Only 4 remained. Oh my goodness, the triple purge. Brenda struck again, and Min-ji is a silent assassin. Who do you think is the most dangerous candidate left out of the final 4? Tell me below. And remember, we need to hit that like and subscribe goal to unlock other series. Once the room was cleared, Min-ho closed the heavy double doors of the lounge, leaving only himself and the janitor inside. Tae-jin didn't stand up. He remained kneeling behind the sofa, leaning his forehead against the cool leather. He was soaked in dirty mop water. His elbow was bruised. His mind was dark. "For left," Min-ho said quietly, walking over and crouching beside his friend. "Tae-jin, I think we should end this." Tae-jin let out a dry, broken laugh. The sound lacked any warmth or humor. It was the sound of a man who had finally realized his grandmother was wrong. True love, genuine connection, it didn't exist for men like him. His wealth was a curse that only attracted vultures. "They're all the same, Min-ho," Tae-jin whispered, his voice thick with defeat. "Every single one of them. The liars, the users, the bullies. They see a suit and they see dollar signs. They see a janitor uniform and they see a floor mat." Tae-jin slowly pushed himself to his feet. He looked at his hands, raw from bleach and scrubbing. "Tell my grandmother she wins," Tae-jin said, his eyes completely hollow. "I'll marry whichever of the 4 survives by the end of the month. I don't care anymore. Let them have the money. I'm done looking for a heart." He grabbed his mop bucket and walked out of the lounge, leaving Min-ho staring after him. The billionaire had broken. He had entirely lost hope. Part 1 ends here. Do you believe that Tae-jin can find his true love in this game? Or he will end up with the worst woman ever? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and please don't forget to share, like and subscribe to this channel. Stay tuned for part 2.